モンさん、今日はありがとうございます。いくつか質問をさせていただきたいと思います。我々は投資家のクオリティオブライフの向上に貢献する運用会社を目指しております。そしてその手段の一つがアクティブ運用だと考えておりますが、バロンキャピタルは長期で良好なパフォーマンスを上げている戦略が多数あります。私はバロンキャピタルの投資哲学であるロングタームインベストメントリサーチドリブンに非常に共感しております。この投資哲学はどのようにして形成されたのですか？またバロンキャピタル設立の経緯について教えていただけるとありがたいです。よろしくお願いします。
I started my career in 1970 as an analyst, and I did research and sold it for commissions to hedge funds and large mutual funds. And the idea behind those investments was there were significant growth companies. And I invested and recommended Nike, Disney, McDonald's, Tropicana, Federal Express Corporation. And what I was paid, my salary was earned by brokerage commissions. And the more people bought and sold stock, the more I made. So it wasn't about the long-term success of a business. It was about what was going to happen in short term. And what happened is that when these stocks went up and they doubled or tripled in a relatively short period of time, I went back to my clients who had bought them and I recommended selling the stocks because I would get 2 commissions instead of just 1. And then after about 10 years, I looked back in all these companies that I had recommended purchasing first, and then after they doubled or tripled, selling them. All those companies that I had sold had gone up dramatically in price, not up a little. And I came to a conclusion that the way you became wealthy as an investor was by being a long-term investor in a business, not a short-term trader. And then in 1982, we started Barron Capital. And with Barron Capital, the idea was that we were going to now be able to make long-term investments on behalf of our clients and ourselves so that we could be we could gain the benefit of the research that we had done on those businesses that could become much larger in the future than they were today. So that's the whole idea. The idea is to find growth companies, to invest in them, great people, competitive advantage, and invest in them for the long term and make exceptional returns for our clients. Very few people have been able to do better than the stock market over the long term. 98.5% of the assets that we manage have done better than the stock market.
ありがとうございます。私も実は日本株の運用を13年ほどやっておりまして、ロングタームインベストメントというのは非常にいろんなところで言われるわけですけど、長い間同じ銘柄を持って保有し、さらにリターンを上げるまで相当の忍耐だと思います。で、その辺についてもう一つ聞きたいのですが、ヨンさんの投資哲学には長期投資だけではなく We invest in business, not stocks.We invest in people, not just buildings という言葉があります。長期的投資を根気強くやっていくための、魅力的なビジネスと人を見極めるということが大事になってくるという点で、何を見て何を重視しているかを教えていただけると幸いでございます。
As far as the attractive business, we're trying to find businesses that have a competitive advantage that make it very difficult for other people to do the same thing that they're doing, and as a result of that, they have pricing power. They can become extraordinarily profitable and without very much competition. So that's what we're looking for in businesses. Great businesses have opportunities to grow a lot, to become much larger because the opportunity is significant, and it's very hard for other people to do the same business that the companies we invest in are doing.So that's essentially what we're looking for in the businesses. As far as people go, then I train the people. I want the people with whom I work to understand character, to understand ability, to understand leadership capabilities, and to understand that the people in whom we invest must be not only talented and smart and good leaders and work hard and have good character, but they also need to be people with whom you trust. So that's as important as anything, maybe more important than anything. You have to trust the people in whom you're investing. And when they breach the trust, you can't invest from them. So trust, that's paramount. You have to have all these other capabilities. that's table stakes. That's just getting into the game. But in order to be able to invest with someone, we have to be able to trust them. And the only way you get that is with repetition, with interviewing people year after year after year. I've been doing this my whole life, year after year. And so after all this period of time, what sort of person in whom you feel comfortable trusting and investing with. And you're putting your assets, your savings in their hands. So you better make good decisions in that respect, and that's what we try to do. And when we have these meetings with companies in our office, we have all the analysts and portfolio managers in meetings, so they see the questions that I'm interested in asking and what I'm trying to draw out about their character, how they live their lives, and I want them to be asking the same sort of questions and to understand the people the same way I try to understand the people.
ありがとうございます。何に投資をするのか、どういう考え方で投資をするのかということが非常に大事で、いつ投資をするのかということについては、間違った投資をしていなければ大丈夫だということだというふうに思います。ただ今、日本の個人投資家の皆さんは、このアメリカのマーケットが金利上昇によって、ちょっとまずいかなというふうに思っていると思います。その面で、いつ投資してもいいとはいうものの、長期投資を、するにあたって忍耐力を必要とすると思うんですが、その長期のキャリアの中で長期投資を貫くことができた要因は何なんでしょうか。これが日本の投資家が、投資を長期的に続けるという一つの、解決策になると思いますので、ぜひ教えてください。
I think that the idea of great uncertainty in the markets that we're presently experiencing with inflation, with rising interest rates, with war, with food shortages, with supply chain disruption. Whenever you see a great deal of news that seems to be very negative, and as a result of that, the positions that investors, or TRADERS, are taking in markets now is relative to the information that everybody knows. And there isn't anything that you just described that everyone doesn't know, that I've just described. And I think it was interesting that this past summer, they had on television the expert in commodity markets for one of the most important investment banks in the United States. There couldn't be anyone who knows more about commodities than this person. And the beginning of the summer, after Ukraine was attacked by Russia, this analyst was and head of this commodity department on television said the price of oil was $120 a barrel. And he said by the end of the summer, it will be $150 a barrel. And that's just for starters. It's now 80. In 1996, Alan Greenspan, who happened to be the head of the Federal Reserve Bank in the United States, was on television. He was saying the stock market has just done very well since 1987, since its recovery. It's now 1996, 9 years, the stock market's doubled. It has irrational exuberance. It's irrationally high. That was in 1996. The Dow Jones was 6,000. It ended 4 years later at 12,000, 11,000, so it doubled. After World War II, in 1945, there were 3 years where inflation was very high, people were very negative. They said soldiers coming back from the war were going to have a very difficult time finding jobs, and they were going to be discouraged, and it was likely we could have another depression. The stock market from 1949, and then we started the Marshall Plan to help rebuild Europe. 1949 to 1955, the stock market tripled. And so whenever there's uncertainty, whenever there's great uncertainty, that's reflected in stock prices. The stock market is a great reflector of exactly what's happening at this point in time. And the only thing that we think is important is finding great businesses run by great people with exceptional competitive advantage and great growth prospects, and investing in those businesses for the long term. And oh, by the way, by doing that and by following that procedure and not trying to predict what's going to happen and not being upset when all the news seems so negative, Those are the best times to invest. Right now is one of the generational best times to invest. And so my feeling is that there is this tremendous opportunity ahead of us. I was on television fairly recently. I was talking about from the birth of Christ for the first 1,500 years after that, the stock market, not the stock market, what happened is that the GDP in the world and the population in the world about doubled. The GDP doubled, the population doubled. 1800, you had the Industrial Revolution. From 1800 to now, that period of time, those 200 years, in that period of time, the population grew eightfold, and the GDP and the economies grew 100-fold. Growth is accelerating now. This is the best time in the history of humankind to be alive, and there's so many developments that are taking place. You won't recognize what the world is going to be like in 50 years from now compared to what it is today. It'll be so much better. People will live much longer, they'll have much better lives, and that's what you're investing in right now. And you're going to do much better in the next 50 years than you have in the last 50 years than you had in the 50 years before that. This is a great time to be an investor.
ありがとうございます。ロンさんのご自身の過去の経験と、それから過去のマーケットについてもいろいろお話ししていただき、よく分かったと思います。我々これから投資家の皆さんに、バロンキャピタルの、フィロソフィー、これをどのように伝えるかということがキーポイントになるんだろうというふうに思っています。ロンさんが考えていること、バロンキャピタルが今まで貫いてきていることを投資家の皆様によく理解していただけるように頑張りたいと思います。引き続きご協力のほどよろしくお願いいたします。ありがとうございます。
I'm very excited about our relationship, and if I want our business to last for 100 years, I better be able to do business. We better be able to do business with people like you, to learn from you and to help us. So thank you very much for establishing a relationship with us.
Thank you very much.